Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3.5, a little special episode talking about Dune. It's the big movie that has come out recently. Everyone has opinions coming in hot and heavy with them. People are loving it. Some people are not loving it, which is fine. Some people are in between, and I think that's really cool. I think that's really cool, and I wanted to have a discussion about this because this has been a movie people have been long anticipating. Was delayed due to the pandemic. There's been multiple attempts to adapt Frank Herbert's novel and series, of course. And I totally understand why people are very, very, very excited for this latest film. For those of you who are familiar with my content, I did my own kind of like general review, my general thoughts on the most recent stream where I talked about how I thought the movie was gorgeous, beautiful cinematography on a technical level. It's superb. The sets, the costume design, even some of the narrative stuff I did like, particularly like the world building, I thought was very good. It was very understandable. I didn't feel like it was obtuse or anything like that, which is one of the things I was worried about. But I was like, Denis Villeneuve and the other filmmakers and the writers, they handled that very well. And I liked some of the characters, including Jason Momoa as Duncan Idaho, and Javier Bardem as the Spit Guy, as I like to call him. or I guess his name is Stilgar. His name is Stilgar, which is a very powerful name. I had some issues with the sound mixing in the movie and some of the score, and I was not a big fan of the story in general, or really most of the characters. I feel like the characters were very flat and underdeveloped. But I just want to take a moment and kind of have each person, for those who have seen it, or maybe just in your general impressions of Dune, because we have a lot of people here. We have Ace Rock, we have Alex, we have Austin, we have Chris Ayers, we have Ducking Henry, we have Jacob, Casfey, me, and I'm Xavier. But I want to give each person a moment to talk about the film if they have seen it, or maybe just Dune in general. Ace Rock, we'll go ahead. I'll start with you, good sir.
Hey,
Your general
everyone,
impressions on
thanks.
the movie.
So I Dune, just in the spirit of full disclosure, it's my favorite series. It's my favorite novel. I've read the novels, the first three novels, multiple times, and all six of the core books
Mhm.
at least once. To my mind, I think this is the definitive adaptation of the novel. I think Denis Villeneuve accomplished and pulled off what everyone said could not be done. He does make several compromises and choices to excise certain plot lines and a lot of characters, um, and story beats that you know I- are all they're all choices I completely understand why he would do it, and in many ways I think he improves upon the book and Frank Herbert's narrative, because the thing about, I think people want to describe Dune as being like this wide sprawling space opera, and it is that, but it also is, before it's a space opera, it's really a social commentary, um, and I think that what Denis Villeneuve successfully does, um, you know, in contravention to David Lynch's '84 film, which dives headlong into the 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 familiar hero's journey that everyone knows and loves and thinks of when we think of like all our other stories, like whether it's Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But Dune and Frank Herbert explicitly wrote that story in the Paul Atreides arc to not be a hero's journey. If anything, it's a cautionary. It's supposed to be a cautionary tale of what heroes can do to us. And what I love about that Villeneuve manages to do, um, is he does explicitly put in this film multiple moments where you see um, Paul Atreides make certain choices that really show you that he's not a hero, that he is not doing things for the good of the people, that he's not doing things to be the leader that his father, Duke Leto Atreides, was. So I find that what I admire about the film is that that's a really brave choice to do, because it subverts, what our expectations are for this film. And I think that so many people, when they think of Dune, think of the '84 Lynch movie of Colin McLaughlin and Sting and Max von Sydow and the Dino De Laurentiis's set design and what have you, and Kenneth McMillan's like crazy, wild, and wholly inaccurate rendition of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. I think that what Villeneuve has to actually battle against is not the complexity and density of the novel, but the fact that the majority of the people who know Dune know it through David Lynch's film, which as authentic and accurate as Villeneuve is in this film, Lynch was completely inaccurate. I mean, there are things that he does in that film that are wholly, completely made up out of whole cloth, right next to things that actually are lifted directly out of the novel. But
is there no milk? Is there no cat milking?
No.
Damn it!
There's poison. There's that, and and the thing is that whole thread, that whole plot line about Thufir Hawat, Villeneuve seems to have excised out of his adaptation, which is a huge deal. Like, that's a huge plot line because it has a lot to do with the development of Gurney Halleck, Thufir Hawat, Lady Jessica, and her relationship with Duke Leto and everyone else around her.
Right.
It also plays directly into, the fact that the issues regarding Dr. Wellington Huey, and it's and there's also another scene too. There's a dinner scene where Paul really gets to strut his stuff in front of a bunch of other people, and a lot of people were disappointed that scene was left out, because it's a big character moment for Paul, and it's something I think it would have addressed a lot of the criticisms that are rightfully there against how Paul was portrayed in this book or in this film.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's just not a lot for him to do in this movie.
Yeah. But and that's an absolutely fair criticism. And I think that as much as I love this film, and I do love it, I walked into it with high expectations, and I walked out of it with my expectations surpassed. I do appreciate that it is not a perfect film. However, I would contend that it objectively is a great film, and it's a great science fiction film, and it's as good as one could ever hope to do, in terms of adapting the source material. It's absolutely authentic in its portrayal and of what the story is about and what the major themes are, even if it chooses to set aside certain core themes of the book. The ones that it does choose to really focus on, it really does do justice to.
Emily, Alex, have you seen the movie yet? Do you have any opinions on Dune in general?
No, I know nothing.
Okay, here we go. I like it. Simple, very nice. Austin, how about yourself? Have you seen the movie yet? Any impressions? Your general impressions?
I'm gonna actually be watching it right after we do finish the Avatar talk. But I've read a little bit of the book, and I was reading a bit of the book today. But yeah, but I'm excited for it.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna be disappointed there's no Sting in it, but I get
There's
it.
no Sting. Well, we don't know that. We don't know. There could. I mean, the sequel supposedly is coming, so we'll see.
You confused me when you said my name. I was like, wait, what? Hold on.
Emily, Alex. Emily. Should I call you?
Emily's my first name. Alex is part of my middle name.
Okay. Because I know you have Alex as your main thing. So I'm just going. So which one do you prefer, Emily or Alex?
Emily's fine.
Nice. I like that. Mr. Ayers, have you seen the movie yet? I know you've talked about that you were going to see it today or soon.
No, not today. Tomorrow. My mom wants to see it because she loves the book and she wants to do a watch party for it with pizza and stuff.
Okay.
I've read part of the book. I tried reading it a couple summers ago while I was at my grandparents' house, and I got about 40 or so pages in before I was like, I can't wrap my head around this. Like, this is just too dense for me. I had the same problem trying to read the Lord of the Rings books, but
Yeah.
I have seen the Lynch movie, and I love it for pretty much all the wrong reasons. And I'm looking forward to this movie, and I'm very curious to see what all the hubbub's about.
Yeah. No. Cool. Stefan, what about yourself? Have you seen this movie? Any general thoughts on the film?
So I have not seen the movie. I have not read the book. No.
Okay, that's fine. No, it's fine. I'm just curious. Just want to ask people. Jacob, what about yourself? Have you seen the movie? Any thoughts on it?
I have not seen the movie. The only thing I could only go off by is by the trailers.
Okay.
What the trailers were portraying to me is like it's like Star Wars, but in the desert. That's what I'm getting off of it. So
I talked about last night where there's no doubt that so many other filmmakers and writers and creators have taken from Dune. Like Lucas obviously took from Dune. Where the beginning of the Star Wars takes place on a desert planet, following a young man who yearns for something greater. There's no doubt that he stole liberally from
Isn't all of sci-fi like that?
That's true. Yeah, no, everyone borrows from each other. Everyone steals from each other. Even the greats steal from each other. That's just how it is. That's what keeps the genres alive and evolving constantly. So yeah,
if it wasn't for Akira Kurosawa, we wouldn't have Star Wars.
True. Yeah, there's that as well. You had the Hidden Fortress, which George Lucas admitted was a film that had a major impact on him and the creation of Star Wars. So good point. Cassie, what about yourself? Have you seen the movie? Any thoughts on it?
I actually haven't, and I really don't know anything either. I've become interested because of all the discussions happening around it, and I just haven't decided if I want to read the book first or see the movie or even watch the 1980s one first.
That's interesting predicament. Yeah, because you either watch the new movie, the '84 film, or the book. I don't know. I think it might be best probably to watch the new movie first, and then you can get more details when you read the book again. And this is only like half the book too, as well as like this part of the movie. At least maybe at least 2/3 of it at the very least. But okay, that's cool.
If I could suggest to another, if you're having difficulty reading the book, the audiobook is actually quite good. Like listening to the audiobook is actually not a bad way to experience the novel as well.
That's a good suggestion. Yeah, never considered that.
Cool.
MZ, what about yourself? Have you seen the movie?
So I've only seen, I think, about 30 to 45 minutes of the movie.
Okay.
And so far, I kind of like it. I can see where, because I know some people said that the pacing is kind of off, and so just being in like the 30-minute mark or 45-minute mark, I can see where I can see where there's areas where it can like get bogged down. One thing I really noticed is that the contrast, I think, is like turned all the way up. Like everything's bright in this. Like even the black and brown people look like very like bright. It's just a very bright movie, and but yeah, I kind of like it so far. Also, I was going to mention that I think there's a graphic novel of Dune.
Oh, there is
as well. Yeah, so
there is, and it's trash. Don't read it.
Oh, damn.
All right.
Yeah, it's hot garbage. The graphic novels are really more controlled by Brian Herbert, and Brian Herbert's involvement in the books is really problematic for a lot of people, myself included. Like I don't even bother with them anymore.
What's the big reason why, if you don't mind explaining?
He retcons a lot of stuff. And he also he retcons things and handles things and really like it's just after a while it just feels like he's just cashing in on the brand name.
And that's the son. Is Brian Herbert the son of Frank Herbert? Okay.
Brian Herbert and really the guy who's writing it all is Kevin J. Anderson.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah,
I know Kevin J. Anderson.
He's a good writer.
I read his Star Wars books.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wrote a lot of Star Wars books.
Boba Fett books.
Yeah, and basically what he does is it's like his books feel very similar to if you liked Star Wars expanded universe lore and those
I do.
novels, like then you would like the Brian Herbert books probably more
Yay.
than you would like them more than you would like the Frank Herbert novels.
Oh, that's funny. That'd be great. I'm like the Dune pariah.
Yeah.
no one will like me except the Kevin J. Anderson fans. That's funny. Yeah, no, I'm glad I just took a moment. Just wanted to ask. Like I said, just be really short. I want to give everyone just a bit of time to express themselves on the movie and just the property in general. I've not gone on to read the other books. Maybe someday I will. I'm at that point in my life where it's just hard. Sadly, I hate to say it, but it's hard to sit down and read a book of everything I'm working on. But the thing is, it's just it's not that I'm not interested in a sequel. I want to see this story complete, and maybe that will improve my opinion on this part one, on this first chapter. It's but again, I just feel like they really need to, because I know the movie's going to look gorgeous, just like this one. It does. There's no doubt about this. I mean, this is going to get many accolades. This is going to get a lot of praise for its visuals and the like I said, the world building, the technical aspects. I mean, some of the best. I mean, this is probably the most beautiful looking movie I've seen this year, and I mean, one of the most gorgeous looking sci-fi films. I mean, I just love, like I said before, I can just literally pause and just stare at like a scene, like those wide shots of those massive spaceships, those Atreides spaceships as they're coming out of the water or landing on Dune. Like it's absolutely gorgeous. But it's just like I feel like they need to do some really heavy lifting in regards to the characters in the next chapter. And when they say that they're now going to focus more on Zendaya's character. Or Zendaya, how you say her name? Everyone's correcting me last night. I was not saying it right.
Zendaya.
What was I saying? Zendaya?
Yeah, you were saying it was an I, and there was no I in her name.
Zendaya. Gotcha. That's going to be more of her story now. And it's like, well, Paul's still the guy, like, I feel like you need to do more with him, which I know that they will. I know what he eventually becomes and what he represents. But they really need to focus on that, and some of the other supporting characters. It's just and the villains. I was really disappointed by. I mean, I know that the Harkonnens we're just bad guys, and that's all they are. But I need a threat where I feel, I don't know, not even emotional connection, but just threatened by them.
I think that one of the things that hurt the film and hurt the Harkonnens in general is that there's a plot line that Villeneuve doesn't make use of in his version, and that's of the traitor plot line, and really when you don't have that, you don't get to really see the extent and the breadth of the plan that Peter de Vries, who is the Mentat, Baron Harkonnen's Mentat, and Baron Harkonnen himself, like the plan that they have, like they really portray it as though like it's given, like the plan is given to them, and that, I think it really does a disservice because it takes away the menace that the Harkonnens really should have. I will say that Dave Bautista's portrayal of the Beast Raban is absolutely spot on to the book. He is exactly the way Raban is in the book.
He's just a big screaming guy.
Yes. And he's actually, if you notice, Gurney Halleck, played by Josh Brolin, has a giant scar on the side of his face.
Mm-hmm.
Raban gave that to him.
Do they say that in the movie?
They don't. They don't. Okay. But that's
what I'm saying, though. Those are the things that are lacking. That would have been cool.
That's not in the novel either. Like that's from like the Dune Encyclopedia. Like that's right. But that's so I mean, so I think they do kind of give the Harkonnens short shrift in that, and
they're just bad guys. That's what they are. But I do think that
and interestingly enough, they spend a lot more time on the Sardaukar than is really discussed or in the book at all.
Who are those guys? Are those the guys?
The
I mean, I don't want to get into spoilers or anything. Are those the guys that they team up with?
The Sardaukar, the guys wearing the white armor.
Got it.
And and everyone knows about them, and they're really cool. They're like fucking awesome. And once you learn about who they are and what their deal is, but
yeah, it's just the problem is it's like even the Sardaukar, like when we see them for the first time in the movie. And like they're doing that really fucked up looking ceremony. I'm like, oh, this is visually cool, but I don't know what the fuck's going on. Like, you know, like Denis Villeneuve is like he's just letting the image. He's just using the image itself to, I guess, speak for the necessary narrative explanation that we all need. Like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this fucked up ceremony here? And none of that's there. And I mean, that's the problem I have. That's a case of some world building that's not done well. You know, I mean, there's a lot of great world building, especially with like, you know, the Atreides. Like, I understand them, and they talk about the Emperor and that kind of thing, and Dune and the Fremen. Like, that's the world building. I'm like, oh, I get this. This all works to me. Like, total explanation. But they totally neglect the villains in this movie. Like, even if the Harkonnens are straight bad guys, which they are, I know that's what they're like. We do evil stuff because we're evil. It's like, I get it. But I would have liked to like an explanation, like why are they all fucking gross looking? Why did they look this way? What happened? You know, why is, you know, Baron Harkonnen this giant flying fat man? Why are they all sickly, pale and stuff? Like let's explore their culture too, like a little bit. Give me something. And they just don't do that.
Yeah,
and it's a waste.
I think in keeping to and going back to Herbert's like original intent when he came to writing the novel, and just to remind people too, like the inevitable comparisons are always going to be made to Star Wars, and if I think it's from my opinion, I think it's a really flawed it's a bad analogy because I think they're two totally different stories. But if you're going to make the comparison, Paul's not Luke, he's Anakin. Like
right. Yeah,
like, you know, he's and I think in from Herbert's perspective, Paul and the House Atreides might be more attractive and might be nicer and might be more palatable, but in a lot of ways they are just as bad as the Harkonnens.
Sure.
And you know, it's kind of like, you know, like so I mean, it's so I just want to throw that out there when people talk about like good guys and bad guys. I think when grappling with this film and this story overall, what Villeneuve I think manages to do largely successfully is to portray this as there is no black and white, good and bad. Everyone is of different degrees of gray.
Right.
And Paul in particular. In certain, and I'm trying really hard to avoid spoilers, but
yeah. I know you're talking about in regards to Paul. Like I know what happens, you know, and you know,
So I think I think, you know, I really feel like he does an honest job of pulling that off. But yeah, there is a lot of, in terms of characterization, it really is it's difficult to grasp that characterization, you know, and I think the choice to focus the perspective to Chaney in the second film is a wise one, because if there are two people in the story who are definitively good people, Chaney's one of them, and Duncan Idaho would be the other. Right. They're as close to heroic as Herbert ever gets.
I guess, you know, for myself, I would have liked to have seen more of that, of Paul's change, more of that morally gray of House Atreides, because in the movie they totally set them up as the heroes in the film. Yeah. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, that's obvious. Like, there's no similarities on display between House Harkonnen and House Atreides. I mean, just by the way they look. I mean, it's that everyone House Atreides is fucking hot. They got really cool facial hair. You know, they got that kind of like, either the women are all like, sultry and mysterious, and the men are all very athletic looking, and they got that fucking jawline if it's not covered in a beautiful looking beard. While the Harkonnens are all a bunch of fat, flabby, bald, gross, pale people. I mean, that's what it is. And Duke Atreides is going on, honor, and working with other people. It's like, I mean, they're not. There's that morally grayness is not on display in the movie. It might be in the books. That might be a part of it in the series, in the books. I understand that, but that's not conveyed by Denis Villeneuve in this movie. I think that's my issue with it. Like, they're just set up as these very generic archetypal characters that we've seen time and time and time and time again.
I think what he's trying to do with Duke Leto, perhaps this is not whether or not he's successful in doing this is a matter of people's perspective, but Duke Leto is massively naive.
Oh, I know he's like Ned Stark. I know what he is.
Yeah, he walks into this. He walks into this thinking that he's going to be upright and a good, morally just person. And be like, sorry, dude, in the world of unfettered capitalism, that doesn't work. Jeff Bezos is going to eat your shit, and Jeff Bezos is clearly, like Vladimir Harkonnen.
Not as fat. Not as fat. Yeah. Everything else, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a floating device.
I'm hearing a lot of lack of characterization here.
Yes. That's my issue with it.
Right. In a 2 hour and 35-minute movie.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be honest, is the reason why I haven't watched it yet, because as you guys know, you have to set aside a large part of your day these days to do something like that. So in a movie that has so much time, what would you say do they focus on if not the characters?
The spectacle. It's the spectacle of it. It's just we're going to show off what this world, what the setting this universe looks like. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of
visual world building,
exposition about what we need to do, what we got to do. We got to get that fucking spice. About Paul having these dream visions. A lot of cutting back and forth. To obvious setup for what the next movie is going to be about. That's what it really is. I mean, it really is. It's just. I feel like because every time I think about it, I'm trying to think of like a good piece of dialogue between two characters, and the only things that are coming to mind again are the thing with Javier Bardem and with when Jason Momoa is on screen, like his camaraderie with so many characters. People just like him. I just like the back and forth. But I'm thinking of like scenes between like Lady Jessica and Rebecca Ferguson's character and Oscar Isaac. I'm like, I can't think of anything. Nothing's coming to mind. I know they had scenes together. I know they talked to each other, but it's just it was like people were talking, but there was no growth, and that's just my problem.
The one scene that Oscar Isaac has with her, and he asks her not as your mother, but as the Bene Gesserit.
Oh yeah, that I remember that.
I thought was a for me like a really arresting exchange. But I think to be fair to the film, the book doesn't do any of that either. Like if you want character development, Dune is not a character study. It's a lot of exposition, a lot of and Frank Herbert as well. There are battles that are alluded to and referred to and totally skipped. Like he doesn't write battles in that. Like there's no it's all like if you think that this film is largely filled with a lot of like introspection and navel gazing, then don't read Dune Messiah, because that's all it is. And it's a lot of talking, a lot of dialogue, but it's also just commentary. It's a lot of philosophical questioning about why are things the way they are, and what does this really mean, and how does humanity grow in the face of stagnation?
Yeah.
Which is a huge theme throughout the whole book. It's like the golden path and the fight against stagnation is like a huge theme throughout all 6 of the novels. So I think that in some ways, Villeneuve is kind of hamstrung in terms of character development because
Sure.
the source material doesn't really give him much to work with, and what it does give him, he does stay largely true to, which I think is for better or for worse. And I think if you're a purist, or if you're looking for an authentic recreation of like visual recreation of the words on the page, he does it. Like he absolutely does it. Whether or not that turns into an effective story for an individual, that's for each person's perspective to decide for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. It's subjective. I think that's where it comes down to. Like the base problem that I have is that like you said, Villeneuve was just he found himself in an awkward place where he's like, I'm just dealing with these characters who are just not given a lot of development because that's not what the book's focus is. And that's where it was the points I made last night in my review for the movie. It's like, maybe you should have taken some liberties with these characters and
I was
maybe
not
make
emotionally
them
prepared
accurate.
to hear that perspective.
I know you did not like that. I know. I felt that, for myself, I feel like that was one of the things that, you can recreate this world, and I think, I feel like he did it well for the most part, even though there are people who are upset by the portrayal of the Harkonnens in this movie. And their general aesthetic, because they wear all like the Harkonnens' favorite colors in this film are black, darker black, dark gray, and like maybe navy blue, but really dark navy blue. And like in the books, as far as I remember, they dress very ostentatiously. They have reds and yellows and purples and things, and
you're absolutely right. That actually, when I think about it, is if there's one thing that there are many differences between the Lynch film and the Villeneuve film, but one thing he does that is consistent is the color palette, and not instead of making everyone a ginger, everyone's bald.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
But you are that is true. I mean,
Yeah. No, I just wanted to bring that up because I know people have been talking about that. But yeah, listen. Yeah, I just want to give everyone their 2 cents in regards to the film. Have a nice little conversation. Maybe we'll return to this topic once more people have seen the movie, and maybe we'll just do like these little brief kind of episodes where we talk about maybe like the latest release and get everyone's thoughts and opinions. I know that next week we have 2 big movies, Antlers and Last Night in Soho, coming out. Maybe we'll do a little do like a little mini episode talking about one of those films or both movies if people have seen it. But no, thank you guys for being a part of this mini episode. We're going to transition into the next one, but for everyone who's currently listening to this, bye.